Good morning, everyone. I'm Susan Demas, the executive editor here at Lincoln Square. And joining me, as always, on Tuesday morning is Edwin Eisendrath, who hosts It's the Democracy Stupid right here on Lincoln Square on Friday afternoons. He also hosts a Chicago radio show by that name, and that is the name of his Substack as well. Edwin, thanks for being here on State of the Union Day.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to be here. I'm not sure what I think about State of the Union Day.
And well, I mean, I'm really happy you will be joining us after the speech to let us know what you think. And you did warn us that you may enjoy a cocktail during it, which seems like a sane way to get through the day.
Don't you think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure you have watched dozens of these speeches as I have. I mean, when it's a normal presidency, they're not really that interesting, let's be honest. Usually presidents take a victory lap on some of their accomplishments. They take the opportunity to announce some new initiatives. But under Trump, I mean, we never know what he's going to say. I mean, I think a fair bet is that he will talk about the Supreme Court's decision on tariffs. But other than that, I mean, I guess he'll probably lie to us about the state of the economy. I mean, what are you anticipating, Edwin?
Well, he can be surprising. So I don't want to. But look, I honestly, if he's in character, this is going to be the night that he can't recover from. You know, he will be petulant and angry, and he'll get mad at the Supreme Court, and he'll say Democrats are going to steal the next election, and I won the last one, and who are these terrible people, and why haven't all of these people who are sitting in this row been taken out by ICE already? And just be completely his usual insane self, which most Americans have, not seen in a while, because, they get sane washed snippets of his longer speeches. But the man is crazy. And for all I know, he's going to announce that while he's up there, we're bombing Iran. Right? I mean, who knows with this madman?
True.
I expect some chaos in the chamber, which it makes me very sad. I mean, I've loved States of the Union my whole life. They should be interesting. They should be about the country and the policy, but that's not where they are in this world. And so I expect it'll be a bit of a circus, but I really have no hope, zero, that Donald Trump will be anything other than himself, which at this point is a thing that Americans hate.
Well, yeah. And so let's talk about this circus-like atmosphere that we may be seeing in a few hours. There's an ongoing debate if Democrats should attend at all, and if they should attend, if they should protest. But I mean, this does not start with this year, with the lack of decorum. I mean, to me, the year was, what was it, 2009, 2010? Yeah. When Barack Obama was president and a Republican congressman stood up there and shouted, "You lie," in the middle of his speech, which, was the first time something like that had been done in decades and decades.
And let's be clear, Barack was not lying, was fact-checked to death afterwards. Right.
Yes. Right. Back in the days when we used to have fact checking. Now Trump just lies and we just say, well, that's what he does. So you had that. You had Marjorie Taylor Greene show up to one of Joe Biden's State of the Union speeches in that Cruella de Vil, white fur coat. And, she was protesting during his speech. So, if we're going to mark a beginning of this, it didn't start with Democrats, but we are at a stage now where it seems like the old rules are definitely out the window. I mean, Donald Trump is president. He became president for a second time after trying to overturn an election and overthrow our democracy. So we're not normal times. We're building concentration camps across this country. We have ICE killing American citizens. We are starting wars potentially across the globe. I mean, we took Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. Remember that back at the start of the new year? I mean, that's old news by this point, but it happened. So there's a lot for Democrats to protest, but what's the right way? What would you advise Democrats to do?
Well, let me back up a little bit. Republicans have for decades spent a fortune and 365 days a year trying to destroy the Democratic Party brand. Fox News every day. And it was, oh, those Democrats. And, from Pizzagate to whatever it was, all lies. And what that did was it made it impossible for a Republican to reach across the aisle. Remember, a Republican congresswoman lost her seat in Ohio because she gave Barack a hug when he was there. It was just, you can't, their base has so demonized Democrats that there wasn't any possibility of cooperation. So they were rewarded for behaving badly. Mm-hmm. What has happened is that we have found ourselves now in the same place. Donald Trump is so loathed by Democrats that mm-hmm. there is no space. And we're finding this substantively on the important issue of funding ICE. There is no compromise to be had with Republicans on building concentration camps across America. None, zero, right? So there's no upside anymore in trying to find that common ground. Now, I believe we will get back to that. We're one country. I believe there is common ground to be had amongst Americans, but not while MAGA's in charge, not while Donald Trump is president. He's the most polarizing man ever to hold that office, Lincoln included. I mean, he didn't try and reach out in his first inaugural address. He didn't try and reach out in his second. And he's never, ever tried to be your president or mine, not once. No. And we're not even black. I mean, what he's done to Black America is so disgusting that, full stop. So here we are in a place where the voters will not reward us for legitimizing this man's appearance before the country to give a State of the Union when we all know the moment he gets up there is the moment he starts lying. Right. So I hate it because I love these States of the Union. I think we need to get back there. We can't get back there as much. So if Democrats don't show up this time, I'm fine with that. If they go to a counter protest, I'm fine with that. If they show up, I hope they don't get used as props. But I'm not in favor. I mean, Donald Trump will do himself enough damage. I'm not in favor of, shouting and heckling.
Mm-hmm. So we do know that some prominent Democrats are just boycotting the speech. Senator Ron Wyden, AOC isn't going. Don Beyer, Sean Casten, who I know, is from Illinois, has been on your shows many times. And that's definitely
a break. And Angus King, independent from Maine, isn't going.
That's a break from the past. Mm-hmm. I have to say personally, I do admire the fact that there are some Democrats that are trying to use this moment to highlight issues that are important to them. It's a long tradition with choosing guests so that you can highlight things that are important for your district, issues that are personally important to you. There are a number of Democrats who will be bringing Epstein survivors. And I think that's especially poignant because, the drumbeat from the Trump administration has been, it is time to move on. There is no accountability. There is no justice. We are here to protect Donald Trump's friends and all of the miserable rich people in the files, unlike the UK, unlike countries around the world that are taking action against, the former Prince of England. Not some slouch. And so I think that that's a powerful message. And I do admire that some Democrats are honoring that tradition.
I do too. And Susan, NPR reported this week that the Justice Department has removed and withheld more than 50 pages of documents where Trump is named in these Epstein files. That is completely illegal, completely in violation of the law that Donald Trump signed. And I think it's right to point it out. The allegations are horrific. And the FBI thought they were credible enough to interview the pursed young woman several times about this. These documents need to be made public, and Donald Trump needs to quit lying and quit claiming to be exonerated. He is far from exonerated. And this class of people, he's also, I mean, I don't really want to get lost in the weeds, but like, this is the administration that got rid of the Corporate Transparency Act. They're not enforcing it, which allows the kind of money laundering that went on with that Epstein crowd, that allowed the spending of all that money to shuffle all these young women all over the world. And Trump continues to make it possible to do that stuff, to hide and launder money for his own reasons, whatever. It's just the most criminally contemptuous administration we've ever had. So bravo to the people and bravo to those young women for the courage to show up. Also there, Susan, will be people that ICE have detained who they shouldn't have. From my state, Miriam Martinez, who ICE shot and claimed was a terrorist and then was exonerated. She will be there. The horrors of this administration will be sitting in that chamber along with, whoever else they bring.
Yes. There is something to be said for bearing witness, and, for him having to, and the media having to contend with the fact that this is a failed presidency already. This is a presidency with enormous collateral damage, and that has to be part of the story tonight.
It's an irretrievable presidency. This tariff loss he's going to try a new tariff scheme, which is also illegal, and he's not going to do it. FedEx, a gigantic company, has presented them with you need to pay us back.
Right.
And the American people are about to do that too for the money they taxed us for.
Right. And I should say that we do here at Lincoln Square, we're here to try and help you take action. And so we do make it easy for you to contact your member of Congress, because we all paid this tax. We all paid tariffs last year. And even though Brett Kavanaugh wrote in his dissent, it'd just be a mess to try and give people refunds. Contact your member of Congress if you don't agree with that, because
$1,700 a family.
Right. FedEx is not going to be the last company to try and recoup their losses. And $1,700 can go a long way for most families.
And the Trump administration is going to tie it up in court until there's a Democratic president who's going to have to make good on this problem for the Treasury that he has caused. So I don't know what he can do to save his presidency tonight. I just really don't have a clue. The country's decided that he's disgusting to look at. He's disgusting to listen to. And instead of hiding, which would be the best thing he could do, he's going to stand out there and run overtime.
Yeah. And he will. I think that he will just drone on and on, because he is not the speaker that he used to be. I've sat through more Trump speeches than I can count, because I've been covering this man since 2015 with his, run for the presidency. Before then, as he was accusing Barack Obama of not being a U.S. citizen. So, he's been with us for far too long in the public eye. But he drones on so much more. And really, it's striking to me in that polling that about 60% of Americans, feel like he's kind of lost it. Those are bad numbers for a president. 39% approval rating in the Washington Post ABC Ipsos poll that was released over the weekend. CNN has found that only 26% of independents approve of his handling of the presidency. These are terrible numbers. There is no way that he would get reelected again today. And if we had a system of governance, say, like we do across the pond in Great Britain, there would be a vote of no confidence on him, which wouldn't that be a relief?
Well, there would also be criminal charges.
Yes.
As there are against the prince and others. Look, Susan, while he commits political suicide every day, and particularly, I think, tonight, the question is his party going to become completely irrelevant and go down with him? Is corporate America going to further antagonize the rest of us so that when we take power, we remember what they have done? Or are they going to finally say, no more bending the knee? We are going to stand with this democracy that has, after all, created the conditions that we have flourished in and all of us made so much money in, right? If they decide instead to continue to stick it to ordinary Americans and side with this felon, they cannot rewrite history afterwards. We will remember what side they were on.
Absolutely. Well, last year at the end of Trump's speech, I think we have a clip of what he said to Chief Justice John Roberts. And I don't think he'll be saying this year.
Won't forget. So good.
Edwin,
Thank you. I won't forget. I know what you're going to do for me.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, Roberts did for him. Roberts
Yes.
took care of him and took care of him and took care of him until there was just no room anymore.
Yes. And you wrote an excellent piece on your Substack about the role of John Roberts in Trump's presidency. Talk to us a little bit about that, because it was very insightful.
Well, the recent piece is about this decision on tariffs. I mean, the context, of course, is the way they've used the shadow docket to give Trump the time to consolidate power. Oh, yes, it may be illegal to fire everybody in the government, but we can't do anything about it. Oh, yes, the tariffs may be illegal, but we're going to let them do it for a year, right? But what's really, I do not think John Roberts' era will be well thought of for many reasons. But then there's this. Look, the law is a big, complicated thing in America. It's hugely complex. Jurisprudence is hugely complex. And the biggest reason we have a Supreme Court is to tell us what the law is, so that all the judges understand what the law in America is and they can apply it equally. The shadow docket confused all these judges, and appellate judges across the country have been saying, I don't know how to rule on this. I haven't gotten proper guidance. All of the case law says go left, but you're saying go right, but you're not explaining it, right? So we begin to have this murkiness around what the rule of law is. And then you had this decision on tariffs, an easy decision, right? The president doesn't have the power to tax, period. Should be simple. And John Roberts wrote a fairly straightforward opinion that said, yeah, he doesn't have the power to do this. Now, he based that in what he has put a lot of his capital in, this so-called major questions doctrine. But his ruling was like 20 some pages. Then there were like 150 other pages because in addition to his ruling, Gorsuch had a long concurrence attacking Kagan and Amy Coney Barrett. Barrett had a concurrence going after Gorsuch on the major questions doctrine. Kagan, Sotomayor, and Jackson said, look, there really isn't a major questions doctrine, and it's not necessary here. The Constitution's pretty clear. Then Jackson had her own neo-textualist approach, saying you textualists aren't even reading the document. Then Thomas had his own completely bizarre dissent where he said, like, no, don't you understand? This was a royal prerogative to be able to offer this text, so it should still be there. I mean, it's just insane. And then Kavanaugh with Alito and Thomas had, a particularly sort of sour dissent as well. And what all of this says to me is they no longer are able to tell us what the law is in America. They invented the major questions doctrine in order to stop Joe Biden from doing things like giving relief to student debtors. Right now, they're trying to say the most charitable view is they're readjusting to say Congress should do its job, and I couldn't agree with them more. Congress should do its job. But these are the same people who authorized bribing Congress through the Citizens United bill that makes it hard for Congress. Congress was doing its job until about the week that Citizens United passed. and ask any legislator there what happened that week, right? Suddenly everybody who was working together stopped working together. So, so Congress should do its job. I get it. But the Supreme Court has got to tell America, if we're going to have the rule of law, what the law is. And they've made a complete hash of it. And that may be the most enduring legacy of John Roberts. And it goes the way of truth that Donald Trump has tried to destroy in America. So rule of law and truth, really important things in a society. Between Donald Trump and John Roberts, we are in a bad place, and we have to work hard to dig ourselves out.
Right. They have killed the concept of stare decisis. That is what killed Roe v. Wade with the Dobbs decision in 2022. That was a case that was already heard, that specific case, before the Supreme Court, and they reheard it because the justices had changed and they now had a majority to overturn Roe. It was an incredibly consequential decision.
Right. A court should not be politicians in robes. They all say that. They all say that. But so I'm going to give them credit for not being politicians in robes. But the thing they should be is men and women who tell America what the law is. And if they can't do that, then the lower courts can't function properly. Then we have chaos in our courts, and then we have chaos in our society. This is a fundamental to having the rule of law in America. And if you just read the thrashing around in this decision where they're just going after each other because they made up this doctrine and now they're trying to justify this doctrine because they want Congress to work, except that, you know, they're the ones that keep invalidating what Congress does. I mean, Citizens United invalidated McCain-Feingold, which was an act of Congress.
Right.
So a dangerous Supreme Court that is fundamentally at the very highest level of what a society needs it to do. It's failing.
Right. And as you and I have talked before, what has been going on with the Roberts Court during Trump's presidency, of course, has its roots in its 2024 decision, basically saying that Donald Trump couldn't be prosecuted for anything, giving him the powers of a king before he was reelected, which put the thumb on the scale for the election because it sent everyone, you know, all of his defenders could go out there, the media could report, well, he can't be prosecuted, and that sends the message that he really wasn't guilty of anything, despite the fact that more than 90 criminal charges had been brought against this man for mass corruption, for trying to overturn our democracy, for trying to bribe people. And this was all thrown out, not to mention his previous cases where he was found liable for sexual assault. That still stands, by the way. And the fact that just gets swept under the rug, especially in light of what his administration is doing with the Epstein files, it's just absolutely mind-blowing to me.
Well, it's beginning to, Americans are beginning to pay attention. You know, they don't want to pay attention to this stuff. They don't want to hear from the president every day. They want him to do the job he was hired to do, right? Help us live the kind of lives we want to live in this country. And most people don't do what you and I do, which is pay attention like this every day. And they look at us and go, "You're insane." You know?
We are.
Like go get a life. We're crazy, right? But when the rest of the country is now tuning in and they're seeing, wait a minute, he's been there more than a year. He said he wasn't going to get us involved in foreign wars, and we've already bombed Iran once, and we bombed Venezuela, and we continue to bomb boats in the Caribbean, even though he's president of Venezuela. And now we're going to go bomb Iran again, even though he told us he got rid of their nuclear program. And oh, by the way, Epstein, like he told us he was going to release these files, and now we know he's in them and he's hiding it. And then there's Pam Bondi's performance, which was I don't even know. And then there's, Kristi Noem's performance, which is again, she just lies every time she opens her mouth. She calls somebody a terrorist or a cannibal. Now she called somebody. All, of course, is lies. Like then you go around and ask, well, who was the cannibal? Oh, there really wasn't one, But she gave this talk. Oh, it was a cannibal that we had to get rid of because he was so terrible, right? Cannibal. Nope. Sorry. Made it up. Oh, but maybe she can get on that plane with a fancy bedroom that she likes to fly around in that we pay for.
Right.
Yeah.
And of
Or
course,
Cash
the
Patel,
direct,
he's going to reimburse it. He's going to reimburse the government for a coach airfare to Italy, even though he flew on a private jet. So we're like out 35 grand so he can go drink with the hockey team. It's just, they are the most, I mean, we've talked about this before. Zero people in this government to admire. Not one.
right.
Not one. Not one. It's just so revolting. And how many of them are in these Epstein files?
It's practically a prerequisite to be in Trump's cabinet.
Yeah.
Well, just if you're joining us, this is kind of our kickoff for our State of the Union coverage tonight. Edwin and I will be back later on, along with many, many friends. So many we could barely fit them on one page. But I'm really excited. We've got kind of an all-star lineup: Rick Wilson, Joe Trippi. Stuart Stevens is actually in Ukraine right now, but he is looking to join us. Polling expert Rachel Bidikofer, Maya May, Michael Fanone, Joan Esposito, a longtime Chicago television reporter who, Edwin, you've known for years. Just a lot of wonderful people will be joining us to share their insights on State of the Union. Basically, look, you don't have to go through this alone. We're here for you at Lincoln Square. We will be fact-checking the lies, probably telling a couple jokes for us to get through this monstrosity of a speech, and also, just telling you what we think after the speech as well. So stay with us. We're really looking forward to going through this with you. I think we also have a bingo card to make this easier. We did not propose any drinking games because that would not be responsible. If we said take a drink every time Trump lies or he sniffs, you would be blackout drunk within the first 5 or 10 minutes. So we definitely don't want to encourage that, but you have to do what you have to do to get through this. We understand. Edwin, we've talked about the SCOTUS decision, talked about State of the Union. What we haven't talked about is that we are 4 years into Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Yeah.
And I really can't imagine that this will be a very big part of the president's speech, if at all, because, he has shown just such a disregard for the Ukrainian democracy and the people over there.
I think you're being generous. He has been hostile. 4 years ago, when the major invasion happened, they'd been at this for longer. Joe Biden alerted Ukraine in advance because U.S. intelligence was there, helped Ukraine fend off the initial Russian attack, supplied them with arms and intelligence, never enough, but increasing amounts. Donald Trump stopped that. Now we will let Europe buy weapons from us to give them. But Donald Trump's chief ally in Europe, Hungary, has said that they will veto the EU's giving weapons to Europe. So we know what side he's on, right? To Ukraine. Donald Trump wants to claim peace, but what he really wants is to continue to support the fascists in Europe, primarily Vladimir Putin, but AfD in Germany and the right wing in France. He's hostile to democratic leaders wherever he can find them, and he's hopeful to create this autocratic core that sees the world that he does, which is like, okay, we're in charge. All those resources are ours, and we can play games with people's lives and people's money and people's businesses because we're the ones in charge, and his 4 years, 1 million and some people are dead and wounded, most of them Russian, by the way, in this terrible, terrible war that continues, but it continues because Donald Trump has refused to stand on the side of democracy and freedom. He has switched sides, and Europe is done with him. Too bad. It was a great alliance. No one benefited more than us, but it is it is foolish to think that's ever going to come back, because Europe is done. I mean, this week they said, we won't even come and negotiate on tariffs, new tariffs with you. And India even canceled a meeting coming here to negotiate tariffs with him, because they don't know what he's going to do. He's erratic and crazy, and our laws and his behavior are divergent. So how are they supposed to figure it out? But they voted to support Ukraine. They have to deal with Hungary, but they're going to have to do it without us, because Donald Trump is on the side of the fascists.
Yeah. I mean, we had such a prosperous and beneficial relationship with our allies in Europe, dating back to, with some of them for longer, but this endured after World War II. And all it took was 1 year into Trump's second presidency for that alliance to be rendered somewhat useless, and certainly useless for the
attack a NATO
Ukrainians.
country.
Right.
Tore down the flags honoring the Danish soldiers who died with us in Afghanistan.
Right.
It's appalling, absolutely appalling.
I feel like
George Bush and Bill Clinton, they weren't pals. Early on in the Ukraine war, they came to Chicago, not with any fanfare, the two of them. And we have a beautiful Ukrainian neighborhood, literally a short walk from where I live, a wonderful Ukrainian church. And they came and they laid a wreath there. They wanted to show their support, and they did. And so every president we've ever had understands what side America is supposed to be on, and what side the American people want to be on.
Right.
But you got Flipper, whatever. His name's gone out of my head. That terrible senator from South Carolina.
Lindsey Graham?
Lindsey Graham, Flipper. I'm all for a tough, robust U.S. foreign policy. We have to hold in those Russians. Wait a minute. What side am I supposed to be on today? Oh, I'm sorry. Can I carry your bags? Maybe you'll have a golf course for me in the Donbass. God almighty, these people are terrible.
The fight for Ukraine is a fight for the democratic order. And people who understand history know that. Donald Trump was very effective in convincing a lot of voters who don't pay as much attention, and certainly usually don't vote very much on foreign policy, that he was going to be the guy to actually end wars. And now he just claims to. He claims to have ended 8 wars in his head. That's not reality, but in his mind it is. But he is starting wars, whether it's bombing Iran last summer, or his coup in Venezuela, and threatening to invade Greenland and Mexico and Colombia and on, because as it turns out, Donald Trump really believes, as the worst people in the world have always believed, that might makes right. If you are strong, you have the right to take what you want from the countries that you perceive as being weak. That's why you have all of those ridiculous fashy memes coming out of his cabinet about it's our hemisphere. We can do whatever we want. We can blow up boats. We can kill people with impunity. That is what he believes. And that is why he is on the wrong side of the war with Ukraine,
Susan,
because that is Putin's philosophy as well.
Yeah. Susan, you're absolutely right. The problem for Donald Trump is we can do whatever we want. The we in that sentence is him and a few folks, but not Americans. But
he has our military.
Well, they're not going to. I don't think they're going to come and shoot at us. We are going to do what we want, and that is to throw him and his cronies out, and remember who their allies were. And remember who bent the knee. Remember who helped them hurt us. And Americans are hurting, I mean, from power outages from this terrible storm in the Northeast, where we know there's going to be no help from FEMA, because the FEMA doesn't help blue states anymore.
No. Right? And they don't even help some red states. I mean, a lot of people are on their own.
Yeah. So this is, we are going to do what we want, and that's to throw the man out. And after tonight, I mean, a little bit of me hopes I'm wrong and that we have some regular order, but I suspect his behavior tonight will be just so appalling that even Susan Collins will have to say, "Oh, I'm shocked. Who knew he could be this bad?"
Maybe
Let's see, me, you, and everybody else has paid attention.
Well, I think we can expect Susan Collins to be a lot more concerned about Trump's behavior this year because she is up for re-election for like the 10,000th time. And she always gets extra concerned when, it's her bacon on the line. But, we'll see because she was able to survive last time during Trump's first term. She held on by the skin of her teeth. But
Not happening.
I really think that it's telling that more and more people are talking about not just the House flipping, but the Senate. And that map is not favorable to Democrats,
No,
Edwin.
it isn't.
What are your thoughts? Do you think that's a real possibility?
You know that they say here in Chicago, going back to the days of the stockyard, pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. And this is an administration of hogs. They've just, we want it, we want it, we want it. It's ours, it's ours, it's ours. And their enablers are, they either look feckless or stupid or complicit, but Americans don't like any of it. Any of it. And I don't, Americans may hate Democrats because they've been told that there's a pizza parlor where weird things are happening, but actually it's on Epstein's island that those things are happening. And the complicity is pretty clear these days. So he can, maybe tonight he'll tell us about UFOs or something to change the subject, right? Who knows where he's going, but it isn't going to help. So I think all those Republicans who have wrapped their arms around him should be sweating a lot. There isn't time they've dealt such a deep hole. Remember, we were going to see, all these tariffs, Liberation Day, all those benefits we're going to have now. And now Scott Bessent was on this weekend saying, in a year from now, you're going to see the benefits. Well, a year from now, we will have had another election and we will start seeing the benefits.
Absolutely.
Their policies are so wrong-footed, Susan, that Americans' lives aren't going to, there's nothing they can do. Is he going to announce I'm giving $2,000 to every American today? Out of what pot?
Mm-hmm.
It's madman. And so, no, I think the Senate is winnable, very tough, very, very tough, but winnable.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you later on tonight, Edwin. And both of us will be joined by a great cast of experts. We'll have Congressman Mark Pocan from Wisconsin, Max Burns, Maya May, Michael Fanone, Rick Wilson, Joe Trippi, Stuart Stevens, Rachel Bidikofer, Joan Esposito, Sam Osterhout, Edwin and I. So it's a pretty good group there. I think we'll all be leaning on each other for a little moral support because having to listen to Trump for an hour or two, it's always an experience. But I urge you to tune in. We will have coverage starting at 8 p.m. And also, Edwin, we have a promo for your show this week. We're early with it because you will have Judd Legamon, and he is a longtime journalist from Think Progress, and now he has his own Substack, Popular Information, does just phenomenal investigative work. So I'm definitely looking forward to that show on Friday.
Me too, by the way. Yeah, his piece today was brilliant. So I am definitely looking forward to it.
Great. Well, Edwin, thanks for being here. Thanks to all of you, and stay with us on Lincoln Square. We will have much more coming up at 2 p.m. I will have University of Michigan professor Justin Wolfers, who will break down Trump's economy before his speech. So I can't really think of another person I'd rather talk to about that. So thank you again for being here, and thank you, Edwin.
Thank you, Susan.
Always great to talk with you.
Yep.